Hey guys, so this is day 33. We're actually coming to the end here. It ends soon. I didn't manage to get this in a morning walk, so I'm doing a night walk. And a really interesting day. Wow. So I guess it kind of just starts out, what would I say? So there's this person I've been wanting to see the whole week, and I was super excited to see them. And I tried, it's a girl, by the way, just so we know. And I messaged her like once during the week, but she answered once and then didn't respond back. And I saw her today, and she actually apologized for not texting back or whatever. And, I played it off, played it cool, like I didn't care, but I was like, oh, thank goodness she apologized. I was, thinking into it and trying to play cool. And, because you never know, like, if you over approach and you don't want to come off needy. It's no weird. It's just that, that game. So I was sitting down and I was chatting with her mom, actually. And these other two kids, these kids came because we were at a sporting event. And these kids came up, and the girl, she was in the sporting event, but these other girls were a lot younger than her, by the way. They came, sat down next to us, and we started talking. And one of these girls, I'll just call her name Elle. Both of them I had a really good experience, but this one particular girl, she just started telling me about kind of some of the issues she was having kind of with her life. She didn't go into detail. I kind of like put the brakes on that because she was going on, and I was like, oh, you don't have to tell me all these dirty details, but she was kind of just sharing her emotional resonance and some of the things she'd gone with. And it was weird. I realized, like, in that sense of vulnerability, like her just being honest, I realized, like, holy crap, like, we're really connecting here, right? And I've just thought of all the other times people have told me things, and like we haven't all the way connected and like shared stories, because sometimes I feel like I'm sharing, I can get people to like me, but when like I'll listen and actively listen, and people will engage with what they're talking about, and I'll engage with it, but I'll share, and I don't get very much engagement out of it. And so I typically don't share too much about what I'm going on with, just because like I hate feeling like I'm having to force feed my dialogue to other people, especially like when they don't care. And I realize just a lot of people don't have the skills and know how to actively listen, which I think hurts connection, but they manage one way or another. And so we're having this time, and we just started goofing around, and I took this wheelchair, and we were doing like these races and stuff, and I just thought, like, whoa, this moment right here, this is like why you get up in life, like to connect and have like real honest moments. Like I was having fun, they were having fun, and like we were just there goofing off. There's this other girl that I want to talk to, and there was all this angst and anxiety. I'm trying not to be too attached to outcomes. I don't really know what it's at. And what's crazy, so I think the biggest thing that happened to me today, though, was like kind of this recognition. I was listening to Anthony Robbins. If you guys don't know who that is, you have to look him up. He's brilliant. He's kind of like this. Oh, shoot. Crap. I hope you guys heard me. Anyway, I was listening to Anthony Robbins. I'm kind of like he was just doing one of his seminars where he was talking about living your life in his past. And he started talking about purpose, and I realized, like, I've known my purpose for a while, actually. So my purpose, kind of putting it bluntly, is, I think, to live a abundant, happy, and healthy life, and then show others how to do the same, right? And that's like what I feel like I do. Like the reason I have the ability to teach the way I do is because I'm supposed to teach people how to be healthy human beings and like understand what that even means. times. And, I think a lot of it depends on, like, how, I don't care who you are, like, whether you believe in deity or not. Like, I believe, like, deep within ourselves, we all kind of know what we're here to serve and how we're meant to serve. And I feel like that's what it's for me. And I realized when I first made D.A.R.M.A and started, I always told people D.A.R.M.A was there to solve the problem of loneliness, right? It's there to teach people and help others get over that hump. And it was funny because I was doing this other job where I was selling solar, and I was making a lot of money, and I was really good at it, but I stopped. And I didn't feel like I could proceed further. And when I tried to go back at it, it just didn't feel right. So I've been working in this movie theater and, like, making a lot less money, like not even close to as much money. I make more money, like, one day selling solar than I do, like, 2 or 3, then the 2-3 week period at this movie theater. Like, it's bad. I don't make nearly as much money. But, like, I realized I wasn't really serving my purpose, even though getting money and being able to economically support yourself is important. I wasn't moving towards my purpose, and I wasn't feeling that. And I think, like, as I was working on D.A.R.M.A, I kind of hit this standstill. It's because I realized I haven't solved the loneliness problem. Like, not with myself, and I don't know how to help it with others. During break, I went in and I went to a Showtime, and I watched The Greatest Showman, really cool show with Hugh Jackman. And when he was talking about, there's this song in it called A Million Dreams, right? When he's connecting with this girl, Charity, and he loves her, and it's, lovey-dovey. I was just thinking about how, like, for the longest time I bought into this lie that, like, human beings, like, we can operate by ourselves and that we can go on. And yeah, that's just a lie. Like, we're meant to be independent. We can't be needy or codependent. Like, there's a point where you get where you can contribute and you're adding to the system versus just taking away. And I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong. But, like, we're not meant to operate alone. And anyone who, like, is living that idea, and it's like, well, you should just find a hobby or, like, a dog or something to, like, bury that loneliness, that's all you're doing. So I was talking to this kid. I mean, she was 11 years old, but I was talking with her, and I was like, we're, like, getting down to the facts of the matters. I was like, it's easier for me to relate to this 11-year-old than, like, some 20-year-olds or, like, people older than me. And it just, there's all these walls and these BS excuses we give ourselves to not connect with people. And I realize it's because, you go through pain, and being with people is painful. But I think there's a helicopter going over me. Alright, nice helicopter. There's the helicopter. Right there. Was that loud? Loud a helicopter. Anyway, so connection, yeah. Like, we put up all these walls, and it's so hard to connect. And I was just thinking, like, why is something this basic so freaking hard? And I always thought, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And here I am. I'm talking to this girl, and it's like that. And I'm like, it wasn't really hard here. And it's like, well, you should just... And like, people talk about age, and it's like, well, if it's easier to relate with someone my own age, why is it so hard? And I can relate with people my own age sometimes. And I realize we've made it so hard to connect as a society. We've made it so difficult. And it's tough because I look at the moments I have today, and it's like, I think, if sometimes it feels like apping an apple on the side of the road, And I'm trying to build myself a freaking apple tree. trying to get myself a consistent source of nutrition. Because like moments like that I treasure and they're really important. But I realize like in order to sustainably grow and build the things I want to and do the things that I need to do, I have to get the strength and the sustainability to do that. And I just don't know how to do that. Going back to that song, A Million Dreams, one of the biggest thing I felt was that like sometimes your dreams are the only thing that keeps you going, but like I realized when you dream alone, like your dreams don't go anywhere. Like starting, like I mean, if you talk about like SpaceX, Elon Musk's dream, or like a Microsoft or a LeBron James, like all these guys had dreams or things they wanted to accomplish, and it was only when other people got behind them and that like other people could see your vision for yourself and kind of their vision of you, that's when change happens, right? And I've realized like my whole life I've never known how to do that, and like I made Dharma to quote unquote teach other people how to do it, but in reality it's because I myself am trying to learn. I have no idea, you know. Like I'm almost like I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, but like I'm not as young as I used to be, and like I've gotten older and I'm just realizing like the gap. Like I mean, I was having a coherent, honest conversation with someone like who's literally like has never seen a card catalog or like used an analog phone. Like phones are things that are wireless and that you plug in the wall to charge. And I was like having a coherent conversation with someone like that, and I'm just like, man, like why haven't I built this base? Why haven't I been able to figure this out? And you know, they say like reach for the stars and stuff like that, and it's all I've been trying to do, but it's important to build a support network. So I guess like that's the biggest thing I can say right now, is that I'm starting to realize how important that support network is, and like the moments like this are really big because I realize like I live for moments like this, and I want to be able to have more moments like this. And I think it's important to work hard, but I think this idea that you have to do things that are terrible and painful and miserable to get the good, I don't know if it works like that. I think you have to work hard and you have to do things that are uncomfortable. But I don't know if something being uncomfortable and causing misery is the same thing. Like being happy is hard. It's really hard, and it's never, very rarely will ever align with the path of ease. And so I guess I've been running this path of uncertainty, making a lot less money, spending a lot of time going in strange circles, kind of putting myself out there. You know, people get rejected and people kill themselves and end their lives, and all terrible kinds of things happen. And I don't know to say like if things are destined or things like happen every time for a reason, but I've decided I'm going to look at things that way. I don't know if I can't speak for everyone else, but I don't believe I was put in this life to be miserable. I mean, I feel like my mission is to show other people how to be happy, to learn those principles and do that. But I don't think happiness is the goal. I think it's once you learn how to be happy, then you can achieve and accomplish things and give value. And I think it's in people adding that value. That's where my mission lies, you know? How do I show people to add value to themselves and others? And then through that process, they become happy, because when you add value to others and you contribute and you're living in that society as we're meant to, we're happy, and that's kind of the indicator that we're doing what we're meant to. Anyway, this is kind of a long walking post. I'm just kind of sitting here. I don't know how many views this will get, maybe like one, and person will listen for like a minute and a half to their ramblings. But I just realized, like, it's funny, like, I can't tell you how many people have told me, like, oh, you just have to be okay with being alone. And it's like, why would you ever tell that to somebody? It's like one of the worst things I think you could ever tell someone. Is that you have to learn to be okay. Like, learning to be okay with being alone. Like, that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Like, you'll find people who love you once you love yourself enough to love being alone. I don't have a loving myself problem. I like myself. I don't have that problem of, like, I can't stand being with myself. I actually am more of a loner. I actually enjoy being away from people, and it's draining being around people. But I think at the same time I recognize that, like, in order for me to do what I want to do and be able to accomplish the things I want to accomplish, like, it's not this self-serving thing. When you want to write books and make movies, as much as people like to believe it's self-serving, it's not. I have the stories in my head, right? Like, if it was just about that, I would just think up the stories. I wouldn't try to write them or put them down or try and share them, right? And it's like, well, because I want to make money. Why do I want to make money off of that if writing it and doing that is all I care about? No, it's because, you know, I want to be able to contribute, because that's our human nature. And I think, honestly, anyone who denies that or can't accept that, I don't know if they're fundamentally believing in a healthy principle. Oh, check this out. Someone put a shopping cart. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's a shopping cart hanging. That's not something you see every day. Shopping cart. Okay. But yeah, this idea that somehow we're just meant to be alone, and, like, the problem with you is that you're not okay with being alone. Only people who've never been alone say that. They've always had their parents or someone. And it's like, even if you haven't been happy with the person you're with, even if you've been abused, you haven't been alone, right? And I don't think loneliness is the worst thing. I was in a relationship, worst freaking thing, worst decision I ever made in my life. Nothing I've ever experienced was as bad as that. I'll be alone 1,000 years before I ever endure another year of that mayhem. That was just, just terrible. But I don't think it's wrong to be afraid of being alone. It's only natural. We're human beings. We're not meant to be. And I think anyone who says that, maybe some people can be alone and they don't mind for it. Like, okay, that's cool. I'm not one of those people. Now, it doesn't mean I'm necessarily an extrovert or needy. Because, like, and anyone who says, oh, this other person's needy, like, who is saying that? Like, oh, this person's needy because they need other people. Motherfucker, you're needy too. Like people who say that, it's like maybe you're getting your needs met. I don't necessarily think you need to, like, be there for this person, because I see people who I'm like, oh, maybe this person's kind of needy. I don't know if it's healthy. But, like, really? Like, who says that? It's like, oh, that guy over there, he's skinny. What the hell's wrong with him? Yeah, because he's not eating. Right? It's easy for a person who's getting food or who has something to criticize another person who doesn't. Like, who the fuck does that? I'm sorry, like, I get mad about it because I just hear some people say shit to me and about other people. I'm just like, easy for you to say, dude. You don't have to go without. You haven't had to struggle. So it's easy to criticize. And so just don't do that. If you do, like, fuck you. Like, seriously. It's just, like, messed up. It's so hard, guys. It's so hard to connect, and there's so many people trying to connect but don't know how. And I think that's the biggest problem. And, I spend time trying. And the thing is, connecting isn't hard. I mean, I talked to this kid. She's 11. And it was fine. It was easy. This is not something you have to master at. Like, why are we having to take courses to learn basic shit? And I think of it as, like, I was watching this show. It's called Earth Maiden Arjuna. If you guys haven't seen it, watch it. But there's this one scene where this girl, she's out in the forest, our main character, and she realizes out in the forest she doesn't know what to eat. She has no idea what she can eat to survive. So now that she's put out and she doesn't have the support network of the system, grocery stores and fast food restaurants and her mother and all these things being handed to her, she doesn't know how to survive and that she's going to die. But like an animal, like an owl, she sees a rat, she sees a fox, they know what they can eat. She sees bugs, they know what they can eat. They can survive in their environment, right? And their environment is connected with nature. But like our man-made, artificial, self-imposed environments are the only environments we can survive in. But then outside of that, you have to be trained, you have to be especially taught to know how to survive in that. And think about that. Like, we're natural creatures, aren't we? Are we aliens? Like, do we come from some far distant planet where all these things happen and we're slowly terraforming that planet into this planet into that planet? I don't think so. Hello? And is that it? Like, is that why we can't survive? No. Because there's people who can live in nature and who know what to eat and they know how to build things. Like, there's a car there. That car came from metal that was in the earth. It came from ore. It was in the earth. Someone took it, someone refined it, someone shaped it. So, there are those pieces and those connection lives within our human ingenuity, but we're so disconnected from that. Just on a practical level, on what can we eat out in nature, that now we're in the veritable wilderness of human connection. Like, I knew another person who's like, hey, you gotta go with the changing markets. You gotta go on Tinder if you want to find a date. Is that what they needed 300 years ago? Like, why did something as basic as, people have been dating and mating and pairing up for thousands of years, as far as I know. That's basically what every generation of humanity has done. That's how the next generation comes. Yet somehow it's become harder to do that. That we need to create tools to do something we've always been doing. That doesn't make any sense. Another helicopter. Think about that. We have to create tools to help people do something that we have needed to do in order to get to this point. Somehow, in all our innovation and our ingenuity and our creation, we made the simple things harder to do. We can fly across the globe. We can send messages instantaneously. We can talk to people on the other side of the planet. But, most people, struggle to find someone to spend time with and have an honest conversation with. Right? People are struggling to find honest human connection. Like, basic shit. If you stuck you out in the wilderness, you wouldn't know what to eat. Right? Everything I've eaten in the last whatever days has something like sodium phosphate or, something bicarbonate or sodium glutamate or something, some chemical name. It's not just salt or leaves or sugar or tomato. It's never simple anymore. Like, we made things so damn hard. And I do think there's something to be said for innovation and growth, but there's also something to be said for keeping it simple and back to the basics. And we made it so hard. And I just look at myself and I'm like, why is this moment I'm having that fills me up and makes me feel healthy, why is it so rare? It's like if imagine you're a bird, you live off of grain or you don't have anything to eat your whole life, and the first time you eat something you were meant to eat and it just fills you immensely and you're like, wow, this is what I was meant to eat. But if I was meant to eat this and I was put in an ecosystem where I was meant to survive and thrive, why is this thing so damn hard to find? And the answer, people, is that it's because it's not a healthy ecosystem. right? Like when you put, I can't think of, my brain's fighting right now. But let's say you put a natural predator, like say like a tiger, right? In a place where there's nothing, like animals, the animals there are too small for it to hunt, right? Tiger's gonna die because it doesn't have anything to hunt and eat. There's nothing in that ecosystem that's gonna help it survive. So it's just gonna die. And that's literally what we're doing to ourselves. We are putting ourselves in this emotional ecosystem of scarcity. We're finding real, true, sincere relationships and then telling ourselves, well, it's wrong. But this is the thing about humanity that's so much different than all the other animals. Other animals will just die. What makes it so amazing that we're going to adapt. But we have to ask ourselves, are all adaptations that are made the right adaptations? Am I changing and turning into something that is going to help further the mission of humanity? Because we're adaptable, we can change, we can become something different than what we are. That's what's great about humanity, but it's also what's really dangerous. Think about it. Like the worst, most horrific serial killer, like a Jeffrey Dahmer, was once a cute little boy. Think about that. He was once a cute little innocent little boy everyone would love. Then he grows up to be a madman and kills a bunch of people. Okay, so not all adaptations, not all ways we adapt to ourselves to survive in our society is correct. But we have to do that to survive in this ecosystem. So there's two things we need to ask. So ask ourselves, what adaptations am I making and why am I making them? And then it's like, you have to find a more positive way to adapt consciously, or you have to change your ecosystem. And it's that simple, right? But if we're just going to be unconscious and let everything bounce off of us, man, this society we've built of everything going fast just so it's easier and where we're so disconnected, if you're not careful, this is going to transform this human race into something not good. We're all going to be a bunch of emotionless, cold creatures. And yeah, we'll survive because we adapt, but is that what we were brought here to do? Common animals are meant to survive and die when they're not in the right ecosystem. But us, we have such power, such immense capacity. And the thing is, we got to recognize, even though we can adapt and change, we're connected to other things. And if we don't start playing ball, those other things are probably not going to be so down with us. And so that's the biggest thing we need to keep in mind and recognize, is that all these things are changing, and that sorry, there's just some guys there. Anyway, that we have to ask ourselves, what are we becoming? And like something I noticed for myself is that because in order to survive, I've become something kind of ugly and mean. Like I was thinking about this moment, and there was a time when I took care of these kids, and I realized because of these expectations I'd had, and these were expectations I had, like they were self-imposed based off of my perceptions of what I thought other people wanted. I realized I put these strange shackles on myself, and that I've become something like really ugly that I didn't want to be. And so what I did then is I changed the ecosystem, because I was like, in order to survive this, I can't see a more positive way to manage with what I'm doing, and so I had to leave, and I did. But that's something I'd like, anyone who watches this, and if you've watched this far, good on you. There might not be a single soul who ever sees or hears this other than me, which is cool. Even though it's on the public, that's kind of the best thing about having zero traffic and being a nobody. But yeah, we all have so much potential that we can do, and we have to let our adaptations, our changes support that. And like, I recognized making more money and becoming a salesman wasn't part of an adaptation. And I was able to climb a ladder and go down a road, but it was a road that I realized I didn't need or want to go down. And that was a conscious choice. And you know, we live in a system where you got to make so much money, you have to do things, and if you don't do that, you get kind of pushed out of the system. And I guess I'm kind of at this point where if maybe being what I'm meant to be, if I'm going to get pushed out of the system, or if there is a way for me to thrive in it. I just don't know. So I guess the last thought I'd like to leave with you is that D.A.R.M.A, not the name of the company, you know, the acronym is Death and Rebirth Manifest Abundance. And going back to that ecosystem concept, when animals die and they leave their carcasses in the ground, that enriches the soil, which allows new life to be sprung from it. That's where we get the story and the concept of a phoenix, you know, rising from its own ashes. Kind of like when you burn a forest, that allows the vegetation to grow stronger afterwards. And I was thinking, like, so much of like these adaptations or these strange decisions we make in order to survive. What happens when we're willing to put those things to death and let something else come in its place? We become stronger, and then through that we manifest abundance. But one of the biggest things I started to realize is the abundance we're reaping part of what we want? I've been living on this planet for a while now. Not too long, but I'm no kid. And I've manifested an abundance of whatever it is I'm living in, and I'm just asking myself, is this the crop I wanted to grow? You know, you can grow a bunch of nightshade. You can't eat nightshade. You can grow a bunch of weeds. You can't eat it. Or you can, it'll just make you sick. It was just like this show. It's not about what we eat or how much of what we grow. It's what can we eat from what we grow. And I think emotionally it's the same too. Like, think about our relationships. You can grow relationships, but how much do they feed you? You can grow and build characteristics, but how does it take care of you? The girl I was talking to, Elle, she told me how she felt. There was a certain subject she was struggling with. It was math, right? And she was talking about how she was behind in math. And I was just like, think about that. We live in a world now where, like, okay, well, everyone's got to be up to this level in math. And if you're not up to that level, you're behind. That's like telling some random person, you're behind in basketball. Why? Well, look at LeBron James. He's ahead in basketball, and, you know, he's able to